Hello and welcome to this Tuesday edition of the World Report. I'm Arjun Samar Mahendran and here's what's making headlines around the world. In a reciprocal move, India has extended the ban on Pakistani airlines and aircraft from entering Indian airspace by a month till the early morning of the 24th of October now. This is according to a fresh notice to the airmen or a NOTAM issued by India's aviation authorities on Monday. Now, the new notice comes a couple of days after Pakistan's NOTAM extended the closure of its airspace for Indian aircraft and airlines for the same period. With these extensions, the neighbours' airspace closure for each other's aircraft are set to enter their sixth consecutive month. Over in New York, French President Emmanuel Macron on Monday said in a speech at the United Nations General Assembly that France formally recognises the state of Palestine, a move that drew stark criticism from both Israel and the United States. Now, in his address, Macron urged an end to Israel's war in Gaza, the release of hostages held by Hamas, and renewed efforts towards a two-state solution. The time for peace has come as we are just moments away from no longer being able to seize it, Macron said. Now, this step is being seen as a diplomatic win for Macron, though it has heightened tensions with Israel's and also Washington, with both firmly opposed to Palestine statehood recognition. Here's what Macron had to say.
Cette autorité palestinienne renouvelée est une condition nécessaire à la réussite de l'indispensable négociation qu'il faudra reprendre pour parvenir à un accord sur chacune des questions relatives au statut final. C'est dans ce cadre aussi que je pourrais décider d'établir une ambassade auprès de l'État de Palestine dès lors que tous les otages détenus à Gaza auront été libérés et qu'un cessez-le-feu aura été établi.
My colleague Vishal Vivek joins us for more on this. Vishal, we've seen at least 12 nations, if you know the number has not increased, as we are getting our viewers this bulletin, that have in fact recognized a Palestinian statehood only in the last couple of days. Now, this brings the total number of members within the UNGA to 75 or well over 75. How do you see this move? As is it just another lip service, or do you see something more to this?
Well, this is significant, Arjun, as you mentioned rightly, but it's still a tall order, as far as recognizing Palestine on the international stage is concerned, because there are several criteria that Palestine, the state, needs to, fulfill if it is to be recognized as an international, body. So there are several things that need to be lined up. The first one is that there needs to be a recognized government of Palestine, which is not the case because there are two rival factions, governing different areas of Palestine. And also there needs to be a stable government, and we all know that there's no stable government as far as Palestine is concerned. Gaza has been in trouble for the last 2-3 years, and also on the other hand, West Bank seems to be facing the similar amount of trouble. So both the sides have been trying their best to be recognized on the international stage, but this is still a tall order, as I mentioned, but still this is a significant move, because on the international stage the US and its allies are recognizing Palestine. That goes to show that there is some a background noise as far as recognizing the state is concerned. What the US says officially now, that remains to be seen. Israel has already condemned the move and said that it will continue to have more Jewish settlers inside the territory of Palestine. So it will remain, it will still create ripples as far as the international relations are concerned. So we'll have to wait and see how this unfolds. It's still a tall order, as I mentioned.
And a significant step, Vishal, there, but still a lot of variables exist which need to be sealed. Thank you so much for getting us the latest. Sticking with the Middle East, where UN-backed humanitarian organizations are now facing significant challenges in maintaining their operations in the besieged Gaza Strip and the enclave, for that matter of fact, as Israel continues its military strikes in and aid blockade to the area. The UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees in the Near East, or the UNRWA, has been delivering healthcare and basic services to Palestinian refugees for over 6 decades now. However, in Gaza today, where over 2 million people are enduring extreme poverty, the ongoing conflict has severely undermined the UN agency's ability to provide aid. And it's not due to the lack of supplies in this case, but the Israeli imposed restrictions are blocking the UN agency's distribution efforts. Listen in.
Our situation is miserable. We can't afford our medicines anymore, so we only use simple painkillers. For 40 years, my family and I have depended on UNRWA for treatment. Without them, we have nothing.
We shift our focus westwards to the US, where after being suspended last week, Jimmy Kimmel's late night show is now set to return to ABC. Disney & Co., which owns the network, has issued a statement clarifying the latest developments, but not all of ABC's affiliated stations will be carrying Kimmel's comeback show. Sinclair, one of the country's biggest owners of local TV stations, has said its ABC affiliates will preempt the show beginning Tuesday night. Now, Sinclair also added that it will air news programming in the time slot instead. Over in Washington, Donald Trump has ignited yet another controversy. Now, in the latest, Trump is under fire after linking the common pain reliever Tylenol, or paracetamol as we call it here in India, to autism in unborn children. That's correct. At a press conference alongside Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Trump said and underlined that pregnant women should limit or even stop using Tylenol. Now, to make things clear, Trump did not quote any study or present any data while making this claim. The president called it a historic medical breakthrough and pushed for delayed childhood vaccines and new autism cures. However, experts quickly pushed back. This announcement is the latest move in what critics are calling a dangerous push for natural medicine in the United States. And at what expense? And at the expense of women's health, these experts are claiming. Listen in to Donald Trump, followed by an expert.
Don't take Tylenol. There's no downside. Don't take it. You'll be uncomfortable. It won't be as easy, maybe, but don't take it. If you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol.
As we know that autism and the spectrum disorders are multifaceted. They run in families. There's clearly a genetic component. And so to pin it all on a medication like acetaminophen is just hard to believe.
Explosive drones targeting a suspected gang leader killed at least 8 children inside a slum in Haiti's capital and seriously wounded 6 others. Relatives and activists told the AP on Monday as they blamed police for this attack. Now, the explosions happened Saturday night in Cité Soleil, which is controlled by Viv Ansam. It's a powerful gang coalition that the US has designated as a foreign terrorist organization or a terrorist entity. Now, one of its leaders, in fact, Jimmy Cherzia, best known as the Barbecue, vowed to avenge the attacks with a total of at least 13 people killed. Michelin Florville, 60 years old, said the explosion killed 2 of his grandchildren, ages 3 and 7, and his 32-year-old son as well. Listen in.
Premier petit moi, il a 32 ans, qui est actuellement là qui est dans morgue. Puis petit il a à peine il a 3 ans. Son grand-père. Il a son grand-père, mais le petit moi qui est mort, qui a 7 ans.
We shift our focus to Eurasia, where the fall is expected to bring another grueling test for Ukraine's armed forces as Russia intensifies its campaign to seize an eastern region it has sought to conquer for years together now. Moscow controls about 70% of the Donetsk region, once Ukraine's industrial heartland. Ukrainian forces, meanwhile, have been pushed back to a string of 4 cities that analysts have dubbed its fortress belt. Now, this is where they've pushed back Moscow's efforts to seize the region for years. However, shortages of troops, supplies, and even chaos in management internally are making it increasingly hard to resist Russia's relentless pressure in this region. The Trump administration has rolled out a $100,000 application fee for new H-1B visas. It's up from the previous $215, but now says exemptions may apply for doctors and other roles deemed in quote-unquote national interest. To that end, my colleague Parmeshwar Baba gets you.
All right, here's a story with direct implications for thousands of Indian families, both here and in the United States. The White House has confirmed that President Donald Trump's administration may exempt doctors and medical residents from the staggering new $100,000 fee on H-1B visa applications. So from just $215 today to $1 lakh US tomorrow, the new fee policy took effect at 12:01 a.m. Sunday. But a White House spokesperson has categorically told Bloomberg News that exemptions are possible if hiring foreign workers is deemed in the national interest. That language, they say, could cover physicians, medical residents, or even other industries. I'll tell you why this is so significant though. Hospitals and medical associations in the United States had warned that the fee could worsen an already serious shortage of doctors, especially in rural America, where international medical graduates often serve as the backbone of healthcare. Now let's just break down the numbers for you. According to Pew Research, nearly 3/4 of all H-1B visas approved in 2023 went to Indians. Since 2012, about 60% of these visas have been for tech jobs, but the system also supports universities, banks, hospitals, and research labs. In total, basically, economists estimate that around 7 lakh H-1B holders and 500,000 dependents currently live in the US. So for Indian IT professionals, academics, and medical graduates, this fee hike has sent shockwaves. The administration insists existing visa holders won't be stranded and that the $100,000 charge applies only to new applications, but still the uncertainty has rattled Silicon Valley firms, also rattled hospitals and universities alike. By the way, NDTV has learned that the Department of Homeland Security will have discretion to grant waivers on a case-by-case basis, but the key phrase again, national interest. Then the big question currently is, who gets to define what's in national interest, and will Indian professionals who make up the bulk of H-1B visa holders benefit from these exemptions? Well, for now, the Trump White House has signaled flexibility, but with a policy this disruptive, Indian families, Indian businesses, and students are watching very closely.
Kamala Harris has said that she regrets not expressing her concerns about President Joe Biden running for his second term when a majority of Americans felt he was in fact too old for the job. I have and had a certain responsibility that I should have followed through on, Harris told Rachel Maddow on MSNBC in her first live television interview since the elections. The Democratic former vice president's comments expand on a passage in her book, 107 Days to be precise, that looks back on her experience replacing Biden as the 2024 Democratic presidential nominee after he dropped out of the race. Harris ultimately lost to Republican candidate Donald Trump, who assumed office on the 20th of January this year. Kelly Allen of Charlotte was one of a couple hundred people who attended the candlelight vigil honoring Ariana Zarutska near a light rail station in the city on Monday night. It was organized by some churches and the local Republican Party. Allen said she is hopeful that we are on the path to making this a better and a safer city. I think that's what everyone wants here. I just know she wanted a better life and she deserves that, Allen added. So I'm here just to honor her tonight. The August 22nd death of 23-year-old Ariana Zarutska, her attack caught on camera, and subsequent charges against a suspect who had previously been arrested more than a dozen times caused public outrage. Here's more.